So, you've been hitting the squat rack hard, but you look in the mirror and your quads just aren't getting the memo. If you feel like you've hit a wall, this one's for you. We're about to dive into the actual science of quad growth and find out what your training is probably missing. Sound familiar? You're doing squats, you're adding weight, but the growth just isn't there? Well, here's the thing. The answer isn't always just squat more. The real key, the thing that unlocks serious growth, is understanding how your quad muscles actually work. That's what's going to show us why your current plan might be coming up short. All right, first things first. Before we can train a muscle properly, we've got to know what it is we're working with. And calling them quads is honestly a little misleading. See, it's not just one big muscle on the front of your leg. It's a team of four, and each player on that team has a very specific job. Okay, let's do a quick roll call. You've got the rectus femoris, that's the one right down the front and center of your thigh. Then you have the three vasti muscles. There's the vastus lateralis, that's your outer quad sweep. The vastus intermedius is kind of shy, it sits underneath the rectus femoris. And the vastus medialis, that's the famous teardrop muscle right above your knee. Now, knowing the names is cool, but understanding what they do, that's where the magic really happens. And here is the single most important distinction you need to know. Those three vasti muscles, they're simple. They cross one joint, the knee. Their only job is to straighten your leg. Easy enough. But the rectus femoris, it's the special one. It's a two-joint muscle. It crosses the knee and it crosses the hip. So not only does it help straighten your leg, it also helps lift your knee towards your chest. This dual function is the absolute key to all of this. And if you want to get really specific, we can break it down even further. Think of the rectus femoris as having two different personalities. The part up top, closer to your hip, the proximal region, that part gets fired up most when you do hip flexion movements. But the part down low, closer to your knee, the distal region, that part likes pure knee extension. So yeah, for complete development, we need to train both of those functions. Okay, so anatomy class is over. How does this actually help us in the gym? Well, it all boils down to one core scientific principle that dictates which muscles do the work during any given exercise. And it's not what you think. It's all about leverage. The principle is called neuromechanical matching, or NMM. I know it sounds super technical, but trust me, the idea is simple. Your brain is smart and, frankly, a little lazy. It's always going to pick the muscle that has the best leverage, the easiest mechanical advantage to do a job. Think of it like a wrench. A longer handle gives you more leverage, right? It's the same idea here. The better a muscle's leverage, the more your body is going to call on it to do the work. And look, this isn't just some gym bro theory. This is backed by a ton of actual research. It shows us that muscle activation isn't about some mystical mind-muscle connection or just squeezing harder. It's physics. It's mechanics. If you put a muscle in a position where it has great leverage, your body has to use it. Simple as that. Which brings us full circle, right back to our original problem. If squats are the king of all exercises, why aren't they building your entire quad? Well, now that we understand the anatomy and we understand leverage, the answer is actually pretty obvious. Here's the big reveal. During a squat, you're extending your knee, but you're also extending your hip. Remember what the rectus femoris does? It extends the knee, but it flexes the hip. So during a squat, it's being asked to shorten that one end and lengthen at the other, putting it in a position of terrible leverage. In fact, studies using EMG have shown that the rectus femoris can be almost completely inactive, literally entirely silent during a squat. The vasti muscles are doing all the work. So what's the takeaway? It's that no single exercise, not even the mighty squat, can build your entire quad. To get that complete 3D look, you need a smarter approach. You need to pick exercises that specifically target each muscle based on its function. So let's build that perfect routine. Here we go. This is your complete quad building toolkit. First off, don't throw out your squats and leg presses. They are absolutely fantastic for building the vasti muscles, and that's the bulk of your thigh size. But to hit the rectus femoris, we need to get specific. For that lower part near the knee, you need isolation. Think leg extensions, or if you're brave, reverse Nordics. Then, for the upper part near the hip, you have to train hip flexion. That means exercises like hanging leg raises or cable hip flexions. You gotta hit it from both ends. All right, we know what exercises to do. Now let's talk about how much. How many sets, how often, and the answer is probably a lot more than you think, because there's a surprising truth about the good old-fashioned leg day. So, most of the research points to a sweet spot for muscle growth somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. And here's the kicker: your quads are uniquely designed to not only handle that kind of volume, but to bounce back from it incredibly fast. Now, I know what you're thinking. My legs are sore for a week after one workout. How can I train them more? It seems totally backward, right? Well, there's a very cool physiological reason why your quads are basically recovery machines. It all comes down to a concept called voluntary activation. Basically, it is really, really hard for your brain to get every single muscle fiber in your quads to fire at once. Most of us walk around with a 15 to 20% activation deficit. That means a big chunk of your muscle fibers, especially the ones most prone to damage, are just sitting on the sidelines during your workout. Less total fiber recruitment means less overall muscle damage, and less damage means way faster recovery. So what does this mean for you? It's powerful. Instead of one soul-crushing leg day that leaves you wrecked, you can split that 12 to 20 weekly sets into 2 or even 3 shorter workouts. You get to hit your total volume for growth, you can train with better quality every single session, and you can actually walk the next day. It's a win-win-win.
Look, if you forget everything else, just remember this one thing. Building impressive, well-rounded quads is not just about squatting more weight. It's about respecting the unique anatomy of that rectus femoris muscle. You have to intentionally train both knee extension and hip flexion with specific, targeted exercises.
So there you have it. By taking a systematic, science-based approach, understanding the anatomy, using leverage to your advantage, and training for optimal recovery, you now have the exact blueprint to break through any plateau. You've got the tools for your quads, so the only question left is, which muscle group are you going to optimize next?